The following is a case study of the teaching of an instructional unit in elementary social studies. The program is not meant to be prescriptive, but rather is meant to provide a basis for reflection and analysis about the process of teaching.
The province of Newfoundland and Labrador has a population equal to that of a medium-sized city. Its 500,000 people are spread mainly around almost 18,000 kilometers of coastline, with the biggest concentration in the St. John's Conception Bay area of the Avalon Peninsula. This is the south shore of Conception Bay. Between Topsail and Seal Cove, you'll find towns whose names have been familiar to Newfoundlanders for the last 200 years. There's Kelligrews and Chamberlains, and Upper Gullies and Manuels, and today they're all combined into the municipality of Conception Bay South. It's been billed as the town with everything, touching on hyperbole perhaps, but still a good place for children to grow up. There are more than 15,000 people living here, and while some work in St. John's, many have their careers right in the area. The inshore fishery is alive and well, and adds substantially to the economy. There are beef, dairy, and vegetable farms that find a ready market in the St. John's area. There's even a mine within the town boundaries. This open-pit talc mine and crushing operation helps give stability to the town's economic base. This is also the home of the Royal Newfoundland Yacht Club, and all sizes of pleasure craft, from sailing dinghies to luxurious 50-footers, vie with the fishermen for passage on the bay, and further afield in Newfoundland and occasionally in foreign waters. A measure of the prosperity of the area is the rapid growth in modern housing which has taken place in recent years. Modern schools and churches, libraries, parks and ball fields, and other recreational facilities all contribute to a quality of life that's second to none in Atlantic Canada. While Conception Bay South is becoming more urban than rural, the boys and girls in the schools here are still touched to a small extent by the ways of the sea and the lives of fishermen. Upper Gullies Elementary, with an enrollment of 512, is one of 7 schools which serve almost 3,500 pupils in Conception Bay South. The pupils at Upper Gullies come from all 6 towns which make up the municipality, and all have similar backgrounds. When Sharon Bennett talks to her grade 5 class about the sea and its resources, it's not something that's completely outside their experience. Today, she's beginning a unit in the social studies course, and it's especially relevant to young Newfoundlanders.
But for now, we're just going to start on this unit, People and Resources of the Sea. First of all, I guess before we start, we better look at the title and talk about resources. We've studied resources before. Who remembers what resources are or how resources relate to us? First of all, what are resources? Robert, please.
Resources are things that
when you initially begin a unit, you want to know where the children are coming from. You want to know how much they know about the actual topics. This approach is often in the form of oral questions.
Of these resources, why we need these resources.
When I started the unit, I decided to divide it into 3 themes dealing with the 3 ocean resources: fishing, sealing, and oil. I decided I wanted the children to know why this North Atlantic region is such an excellent fishing area. I wanted them to be able to name species of fish, to recall species of fish that are found in the waters off the coast of Newfoundland. I wanted them to be aware of dangers, natural or otherwise, that the sea poses for humans. I wanted them to be able to talk about conservation relating to the fishery. I wanted them to understand that conservation is very important. The natural resources, again, were very important. I wanted them to be able to talk about the 3 natural resources and give some examples from each area.
Okay, just look here now, boys and girls.
Okay, these 2, the warm waters coming from the Gulf of Mexico and the cooler waters coming down the Labrador coast, the Labrador Current, they meet here off the coast of Newfoundland over the Grand Banks. And it's because they meet there also that the Grand Banks are such good fishing grounds. Let's turn this off now and see if anybody has any questions.
When you say the warm current and the cold current meet in a certain place, like, would that be cold or warm in that place?
Okay, well that's exactly what we're going to find out next. We're going to find out what happens when the warm and cold waters meet. I'm going to fill my bowl.
And there I did an experiment with the children. It showed, we just used some hot and cold water in the classroom, and we combined the water. One was colored, put some food coloring in it, and there we showed what happens when warm and cold waters meet.
And I'm going to put some warm water into this bottle. Now, I'm going to put some red food coloring in. Why did I choose red, I wonder? Heat, okay. I'm going to put some food coloring in. Now, what is this warm water going to represent, do you think?
It's supposed to be the Gulf Stream?
It's supposed to be the water from the Gulf Stream, exactly. Good.
It's often not enough to tell them how or why something happens. You have to show them if you can. Explaining the mixing of the currents off the coast of Newfoundland through the experiment led to a better understanding of the concept.
And that's why a river of water is found off the coast of Newfoundland. In all that cold water off the coast of Newfoundland, you will find a river of warmer water. Once my warm water cools or begins to cool, it mixes with the cooler waters off the coast. But it's off the coast of Newfoundland, around that Grand Bank area, that happens.
Dealing with this particular unit, the textbook was an excellent guide and an excellent resource. And as all the students had textbooks, they relied quite heavily on them. However, as the classroom teacher, I determined the actual content, and I saw areas where we could go outside the textbook to enrich the things that were being taught. There's definitely a place for resource-based instruction and traditional means of teaching, traditional ways of teaching. As teachers, I think it's our responsibility to incorporate as many resources into our classes as we can, but I really don't think we should lose sight of the fact that we are teachers and that we have to get there and teach. We have to stand up and we have to teach concepts. Now, if you can find things that you can use with your teaching to incorporate into your teaching, that's fine, but not always are you going to find things that will make the teaching any easier. You just have to go with your own explanations of a concept or an idea. The teacher is a very, very big part of what goes on in the classroom. He or she, I guess, pulls from their experiences, and you tend to go with different things that you're familiar with. You tend to go with the things that you're more comfortable with. But on the other hand, that's why the resources are there. They're there if you're not familiar with different topics and ideas. You know, they're there for you to call upon. But as I said, today it seems like we're losing track. We're so busy running around trying to collect resources. We're just forgetting that we can get up there and we can be a really good resource as well.
I'll have it on an overhead in the morning, and we'll just run through it very quickly to make sure you got all the key spots in.
In this classroom, subjects are not taught in isolation. The teacher looks for ways to integrate the subjects so that while working on one unit, students may draw on skills learned in another.
I wanted to integrate this unit of social studies with the language arts unit. Prior to starting this unit, there were meetings set up with the librarian where I ran through my outline with her, the things that I wanted to do and the things that I expected. And then she had an idea of what books to pull and magazines and whatever. What we decided we're going to do is take the theme from the language arts program, the undersea exploration, and we're going to combine it with the people and resources of the sea. We're going to do two of those together because they take in some of the same things. And in the language arts, the main thing I want to get done, my main objective is to get that report. I looked at my language arts unit, and again, I picked out the things that I knew I would develop there, and I worked them in with the social studies unit. So, and I wanted to have a project. I wanted to have some sort of a project on this unit, something where the children could do a hands-on type thing, because it's really important, I think, to get them using resource materials and so on. I got the best reactions from the fishing section because I think there was so much material there, and we had a lot of resource material for that section. this was one of the great things about using this unit. We had so much. There, you know, we have a great resource center. The children could use library things. And then you have resource people that you could call upon. But I think I should note that it's very, very important that when you're starting something like this, to have your ideas together and decide exactly what resource personnel or what resource things you want to draw on, because you have to prepare it all in advance. That would be about all whales in general, so that should be some good general information.
Is everybody working?
When the class is engaged in research projects, the teacher takes advantage of opportunities to work with individual pupils in order to provide help and guidance.
I think it's very important to have, I call them conference sessions, where the children, they come to see me. They may not get to see me each day. I may only see 6 or 8 children during, you know, an hour session, whatever. But they come, yeah, they come to see me, and we talk over, we look at the notes, we look at the jot notes. I suggest things, you know, to them if they've sort of gone astray a little. And a one-to-one, you really, sometimes it really works. They can see things, and they're not afraid to ask questions on a one-to-one basis. They'll ask you things that they wouldn't ask if they were out sitting in the classroom among the other children.
After these individual conferences with the teacher, pupils return to their seats to refine their research projects. The revised version will be brought back to the teacher for additional comment. The fishing section of the unit ends with the students seeing and sampling finished products from the fishing industry.
We talked about the varieties of fish that we have around the waters in Newfoundland, and I brought in some samples of fish and byproducts that are made from fish. Besides being the products, it showed the different ways of preserving fish. You know, we had salted and dried, and we had some fresh and so on.
Fish. Mark, we can fish. Twyla, we smoke fish. Robert? We freeze it. I have some capelin here that have been packaged by Blue Boy, okay, Blue Boy Foods. This is a Newfoundland company. And these have been, not these ones. These are dried and salted. And I'm going to pass a couple around, and you can see, now they're going to make your fingers smell. Pass this right along now to the end of the last row. Now they're really going to smell. Somebody talked about smoked fish, okay? So I have some mackerel here which has been smoked. What's something you notice about something that's been smoked?
It's different color.
Yeah, it's colored, okay? The processing of smoking, it turns it a different color. Then we have, okay, somebody mentioned this type. Well, canned, okay, it's a canned product. And again, this one comes from Newfoundland. It's packed by James and Sons out in Hants Harbor. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh, then I have some of those other products that are... They're a little different because they're not exactly as they come from the sea. We had a special name on those. No, hey, hands up, don't shout at me, hands up. What were they, Kendra? Specialty products. And we have some different specialty products. You all know what these are. What are these? Fish sticks. I'll just leave them here and you can come over and have a look at them in a minute. Fish sticks, fish nuggets. Okay, another specialty product that's made that we make here in Newfoundland. Sorry? You'd rather have chicken. I wouldn't let the fishermen hear you say that. And then we have another one. This was a really unusual one. It's imitation crab meat, okay? It looks like crab, but it's made from mainly codfish. Other varieties of fish, but mainly codfish. That finishes off our fish resource. So what I want you to do now, there are 3 questions on the chalkboard. I want you to copy them in your exercise books, and I want you to work on them.
And so it's back to work. The teacher has arranged with one of her colleagues to supervise the class while she takes the small group to the computer room.
Now, start answering. Remember, state the questions properly.
We had finished that section, and then the children were grouped into groups of 4 or 5 or 6 students, and they made up a puzzle using the computer, putting in different terms and things that they thought, you know, were important, and things that they had studied in that section. And then we just used these puzzles and we switched them with the group, switched them among themselves. So it was really a learning experience in itself, learning to use computers, and also it was a good review for the students at the end of that unit.
The sealing portion of the unit ended with a debate.
I decided to work on the debate because evaluation is not just a pen and pencil type thing or a pen and paper type thing. Many times evaluation you can observe choices that the children make.
Clothing is very warm.
When the children prepared for the debate, they got together in their own groups and made their own decisions as to why they thought that the seal hunt should continue or why it shouldn't. And choice is a very important part of learning. And here the children, they made their own choices and they learned they had to back up their choices and they accepted the choices that they made, but they also listened to the other side of the argument. And that's all part of learning as well.
Even if we do use oil for lubrication, we don't have to kill the seals to get oil.
Okay, good, David. Now, the third question is, comment on the changes in the seal hunt over the years. Okay, Michael?
Living conditions on boats have been improved. They have showers, but they didn't have them in the years ago. They have hot food and proper beds. Sealing is much safer because of the modern equipment.
First of all, it doesn't matter how modern the equipment is. Still, seal hunting still is dangerous. And a quota doesn't make it right. Helpless animals are still being killed. Other animals, for example, moose, have antlers, but seals don't have anything.
We talked a little bit about sealing as it was years ago and sort of in the grandparents' days, and the children brought in different things that, pictures and different things that grandparents had at home. And then we also had some films because it was very hard to talk about that particular section without having, outside help sort of thing.
If we let the seal population grow, the fishermen are going to get less and less fish. So that means two people are going to lose money, the fishermen and sealers.
The goal there would be to appreciate, to that sort of thing, to have an understanding, and it's your own personal feelings. So it's not something that's really concrete, it's more the affective domain where the children are thinking and giving their own thoughts.
The winner of the debate is the pros.
The third and final section of the unit, devoted to oil and gas, was highlighted by the visit of a guest speaker and the showing of a videotape documentary. The classroom was crowded on this occasion with the addition of another grade 5 class, which had been invited to sit in.
I was not really familiar with many of the areas of oil and gas, and since it's so, we hope it's going to be so important to Newfoundland, I thought that somebody else with a better knowledge of this area would be beneficial to the children. So I arranged with the Department of Development to have a guest come in to just answer really some of the questions. The children were very curious about rig life and things of that sort.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was probably a little bit more business-like than you would have liked. But I just wanted to show you some of those pictures in there so that you would get an appreciation of the size of this project.
Yes, Rob.
What supplies does a supply boat bring to the ship?
Supply boats bring everything to a rig. Everything from water, which of course they need for the daily activities, to drilling fluids, drilling pipe, food.
When I planned the unit, I had planned initially to spend an awful lot of time on the fishing, or more time, put more emphasis on the fishing area. But I found that they were fascinated with the oil, and they were really looking forward to the guest speaker coming in. They were so, hipped up on asking questions about a rig, what it looks like and things. And I realized then that I probably should have prepared more in that area. But that was sort of something that I didn't realize until at that time. But so right there and then, I pretty well had my unit planned as to what I was going to do. But I had to go at the last minute then and search out some extra things, and I made up a booklet then at the end which dealt with an oil rig. And I think that's a very important point that should be made. You have to go with the feelings of the children. You have to take those into consideration.
During the course of the unit, students have been adding to a collection of pictures of fish and seals and oil rigs. That the board is filled indicates the work is almost done.
A final paper and pencil test was given. Questions on this test, as on the reviews throughout the unit, were